This guy ends up in the hospital after wiping out a group of monsters in another dimension. He's just awakened his powers and completely drained his stamina during the fight, so the doctor tells him he needs rest to recover. But the moment he's left alone, a dark presence appears and wakes him up. It tells him to become strong enough to be worthy of its power. Li Yi is not excited about this at all. He starts thinking about how to get rid of it, but that only makes the presence angrier. It's fed up with his weakness. The Shadow Monarch lifts Li Yi into the air and throws him straight into a portal, warning him that if he doesn't reach D rank within 3 days, he'll be erased completely. Li Yi can't understand why he ends up in some cave instead of comfy hospital bed. Soon enough, he realizes the truth. He's been teleported into an insect nest in the other world for training. And honestly, he can't help wondering why life is always this cruel to him. His parents died in an accident while working for a corporation. Instead of receiving compensation, he was forced to pay off their debts. With no options left, he took the most dangerous job possible, working as a miner in the other world. Just when he starts getting used to that life, everything falls apart again. During one mission, humanoid monsters appear and slaughter most of the miners. When the monsters blow up their truck, Li Yi notices something important. They're afraid of fire. Using that weakness, he helps the remaining miners escape. They retreat into a storage cave and start burning oil to block the entrance. The company is contacted and a rescue team promises to arrive in 2 hours. But the nightmare doesn't stop. The batteries in their protective suits begin running low. Stronger miners team up and steal batteries from the weak and the elderly to save themselves. Li Yi gets beaten and left behind to die from radiation. Then another miner tries to escape using the truck. He accidentally drops a statue from the back, putting out the fire at the cave entrance. That's when the monsters pour in again. One of them smashes the statue and grabs Li Yi, stabbing him. Even then, Li Yi refuses to give up and bites the monster with his last strength. At that moment, the Shadow Monarch, sealed inside that statue, enters his body. With that power, Li Yi easily crushes the monsters one by one. He even makes the cowardly miners taste their own medicine by taking their batteries and giving them to the few who survived. Then he heads outside. Using his overwhelming strength and agility, he forms a shadow blade and kills every remaining monster. But compared to what's waiting deeper inside this insect nest, this seems like nothing. The next moment, he spots a shield carapace beetle. He doesn't understand why he recognizes the species, but the shadow answers that it has shared its knowledge bank with him. Suddenly, the beetle charges at full speed. Li Yi barely manages to step back and avoid the strike. Noticing a blind spot on its back, he leaps into the air to exploit it. He tries to strike, but his attack proves useless. The beetle charges again, and this time he blocks with his shadow-forged blade. Still, he struggles to pierce its shell as it is far too tough. The shadow scoffs at him, mocking how useless his attacks are, reduced to nothing but brute force. But as he rushes toward the beetle, he demands the shadow let him fight in his own way. The shadow warns him not to come begging for help if things go south. He clashes with the beetle for a while, growing frustrated as he fails to find any weak spot. The beetle's next strike throws him back, followed by more mocking from the shadow. Then he notices something green smeared on his shoulder. Looking at the beetle, he realizes it's the creature's blood. A smirk crosses his face because he has finally found the weak spot. Awakening his shadow eye, he challenges the beetle to see who the weak one truly is. The shadow instantly recognizes his ability. In the next moment, he shatters the beetle's leg. The shadow mocks him for merely cutting off one leg, but Li Yi knows that is enough to create an opening. To finish it, he needs a more efficient weapon. On his will, he molds his shadow into the shape of a spear and drives it into the beetle's abdomen, which is its weak spot. He finally wins, but the shadow is dissatisfied, pointing out how quickly he becomes exhausted after killing only single armor guardian. Then, a sudden surge of power courses through him as he finds a jewel in his hand. The shadow explains it is an energy stone, one that can help boost his ability level. Then he senses something, but he can't see it. The shadow urges him to use his shadow eye, which only leaves him confused. The shadow explains that to activate the skill, he must gather shadow energy in his eyes. He channels it at level 1, opens his eyes, and spots the next enemy ahead, one that hurls needle-like weapons at him. He barely dodges while still wondering what these creatures are. Another attack comes from behind, forcing him to evade at the last second. The strikes are so fast he can't even track them properly. Frustrated, he wonders if the shadow eye isn't working. The shadow coldly informs him that he's simply too weak to use the skill effectively. Determined, he pushes harder, gathering more shadow energy into his eyes. The shadow notes his surprising efficiency in channeling energy, reaching a level that even intrigues it. In the next moment, Li Yi clearly sees the monster, a blink sword bug, also known as the head harvester. Alongside it lurks a stinger shooter, launching poisonous spikes from a distance. But the real problem dawns on him. It's in the nature of insects never to be alone. If he's found one, there must be more. The darkness thickens, enveloping the battlefield, as countless shapes begin to stir around him. Now they attack him from every side while Shadow praises him for finding a position that helps him avoid strikes from every direction. In the next moment, Li Yi bursts with shadow energy, blasting many of the bugs away. This energy is actually the second phase of shadow power, as recognized by Shadow. Soon after, he receives a notification that his Shadow Eye has reached level 2, enabling him to kill his enemies more effectively. While fighting the insects, he feels as if their movements have slowed down, allowing him to dodge their attacks swiftly. Then he notices purple spots on their bodies and realizes these must be their weak points. Shadow confirms it, saying he can see them because of his level 2 Shadow Eyes. Now he has a much better chance of breaking through their defenses. With a roar, Li Yi rushes forward and activates his Shadow Thorn Grand Bursting skill, thrusting his weapon into the ground beneath his feet. From there, countless shadow thorns pierce upward, skewering the insects. This ability allows him to drive his shadows into the earth and then erupt them upward in a deadly strike. With that, he gains multiple gems, and his progress toward becoming D rank officially begins. However, each core only contributes 0.7% toward his breakthrough. Then he decides to take down the remaining ones as well, determined to finish all of them in one shot since he has already found their weak spots. With every kill, his breakthrough progress increases. He is amazed to see how much one level increase in his Shadow Eyes can enhance his skills. This much power is beyond his expectations. The next moment, another insect attacks him, but he dodges at the last instant, earning praise for his sharp reaction. Li Yi then recognizes his enemy as a warp saber worm. Without hesitation, he reshapes his shadow into a whip, binds the insect, and pulls it toward him while challenging it to try and jump again. Another swarm of insects arrives, shooting poisonous thorns at him. He charges forward, and with all his strength, transforms his shadow into multiple whips, wrapping them around each insect and tearing into them one by one. Watching this, Shadow observes that Li Yi is finally becoming worthy of his power. After all, the Eye of Shadow enhances his reaction time, strength, and control over shadows. But it also comes with a price, as the skill consumes immense mental energy. That's why Li Yi's vision begins to blur as he reaches his limit. Still, he refuses to stop. Fueled by vengeance, he continues killing the insects without fail, his mind filled with thoughts of those who wronged him. His breakthrough progress keeps climbing with each kill, while the remaining time decreases at an alarming rate. Standing amidst piles of insect corpses, he pushes forward with relentless determination, vowing to bring everyone who wronged him to their knees for his parents' honor. His progress now surges to 94% toward D-rank advancement, yet only 2 minutes remain. Meanwhile, Shadow notices that Li Yi's hatred toward humans is actually working in his favor, nourishing his shadow energy. He urges him to hurry, reminding him that time is running out. With only 7 seconds left, Li Yi finally pushes his breakthrough progress to 97%. Shadow realizes what he intends to do, burst out all his remaining shadow energy in one desperate gamble to complete the advancement. Braver than ever, Li Yi bets everything he has, unleashing a violent surge of shadow energy that spreads out, exploding toward the surrounding insects just as the timer runs out. With a devastating burst of shadow energy that smashes every insect in his vicinity, Li Yi finally achieves his breakthrough. His progress hits a full 100%, and he reaches level D at last. Shadow, both amused and proud, grants him the mocking title of Little D. Exhausted, Li Yi notices a weapon lying a short distance away. Shadow explains that this nest was used by his people as a beginner training ground, so the weapon must be a level D dagger according to the human ranking system. But when Li Yi sees the size of the blade, he scoffs. It doesn't look like a dagger from any angle. To him, it's a massive greatsword. He remarks that the Shadow people must have been giants to consider something this huge a mere dagger. Shadow reminds him that his shadow powers alone don't require any weapon. But Li Yi, stubborn as ever, refuses to agree. With a smirk, he pulls out multiple daggers from his shadows, clearly intending to rely on both his skills and weapons. Shadow grows curious whether Li Yi can actually use the weapon in any proper way. Li Yi confirms that he isn't planning to use it because he intends to sell it. So, the two of them head toward the registration hall for that purpose. During his evaluation, Li Yi is stunned to find out that he is still considered level E. The receptionist explains that no energy fluctuations were detected in him, even though his physical stats are impressive. She adds, almost mockingly, that his minor profession entitles him to only a 15% pay raise at level E. On the way out, Shadow explains that this happens because shadow energy cannot be detected by human methods. Li Yi ponders this. While it gives him an advantage, it also makes it difficult to sell equipment legitimately. With no other choice, he heads to the black market to sell the weapon. Shadow, amused, particularly likes the word black, claiming it suits him perfectly. Li Yi's smell is so strong from mining that people around immediately recognize him as a miner. Looking at the weapon, Shadow scoffs at the absurdity of humans, mocking how they call something divine simply because it has gems embedded in it. Then, one arrogant shopkeeper sneers at Li Yi, telling him to leave because a miner has no right to taint their weapons. Li Yi, unbothered, calmly reminds him that this is no way to treat a customer, but the arrogant man only scoffs harder, clearly convinced that someone like Li Yi could never afford anything from his shop. Then with a flashy revelation he shows his weapon and demands the boy to bring their appraiser to know the value of his greatsword. But the shopkeeper turns to Zhuo, who is advanced level D, as his girlfriend complains about his reason for bringing her to a place as shady as this. The shopkeeper is all flattered at him as he is hoping he will bring something good. Zhuo offers a sword he is going to sell to buy a car for his girlfriend. The shopkeeper checks it and confirms it is a Wind Howl sword, which can power up the user's attack power. It is even higher than for someone with level D. At that moment, Li Yi turns to Su Wing, who is his ex, and dumped him because he didn't have any money left and millions to pay his debt. Now Zhuo asks whether she knows our boy. She makes an excuse that he must be her fan. Zhuo, however, doesn't like someone like our dude calling his girlfriend so casually, as he complains about the lower level of the place. With that, he powers up the Wind Howl sword and rushes toward him, asking him to get lost with his stuff. When he sends a slash, he throws at Li Yi, but our boy's greatsword shatters it in the process. Our boy quips that he is handling trash. His girlfriend complains how he claimed to have this sword that can cut through iron and is worth a fortune. Furious, he rushes to Li Yi with his punch ready to land on his face. Our boy dodges the punch without any problem. Determined, Zhuo tries again, launching multiple punches and kicks without pause. On the other hand, Li Yi has no difficulty dodging these attacks, which are even slower than the insects in the nest. Zhuo, however, grows flustered at not landing a single proper punch when Li Yi is nothing but a miner. Making a whip, our boy grabs his arms while Zhuo threatens to send him back to the mines where he belongs. With his eyes glowing, Li Yi taunts back that like a good dog, he should crawl back to the surface. With that, he throws Zhuo down, raising concern from his girlfriend. Then our boy throws another taunt at him, further infuriating Zhuo, who rushes toward him again. But he is stopped dead when someone enters the shop. This bulky man, Wang, is the real owner of the shop. He gives respect to Zhuo as a regular customer, but reminds him that fighting in his shop is off limits. His girlfriend jumps in to defend him, blaming Li Yi for breaking Zhuo's sword. That catches Wang's attention, especially since Zhuo's sword was clearly broken by the sheer force of Li Yi's weapon. Our boy argues that it shouldn't matter, since Zhuo was the one who attacked him first. Wang turns to Zhuo for confirmation. As things move forward, Wang grins evilly, realizing that Li Yi's sword is no ordinary weapon. So he schemes to snatch it. Zhuo will get the item, and Wang will get the money. Pretending to act as a mediator, Wang asks to inspect the sword. Li Yi hands it over without hesitation, but as soon as Wang grips it, he is taken aback. The sword weighs over 100 pounds, yet our boy holds it as if it's nothing. That alone makes Wang suspect he might be more advanced than he appears. Deciding to test further, Wang questions how a mere miner could get his hands on such an item. Li Yi reminds him that in the black market, neither the origin of items nor the seller's identity should be questioned. Wang chooses to let it slide. Still, our boy senses the probing and casually remarks that he found it during mining. He grins when he learns that Li Yi is just a miner, so he undervalues the sword by saying it only costs a few hundred since it doesn't have any attributes. On the other hand, Zhuo's sword would have been worth 2 million if it hadn't been broken. Then he tries to lure Li Yi by claiming he has to pay Zhuo 2 million for his broken sword and will cover the remaining expenses himself. He turns to Zhuo for confirmation, and Zhuo happily agrees. However, his girlfriend worries about her car, since someone like Li Yi could never pay 2 million. He consoles her that selling his organs might compensate for the debt. Our boy, however, understands their strategy. They are readying their fists, but Li Yi also prepares with his shadow as he declares that they are the ones getting into trouble. Every goon in the room jumps on our boy, ready to crush him. Meanwhile, Wang tells Zhuo to head to the tea house and wait until the fight is over, which Zhuo agrees to. But before he even takes a step, one goon is already hurled against the wall. Wang warns his men to be careful not to damage his merchandise, since they wouldn't be able to pay for it. The next moment, they are shocked to see our boy effortlessly defeating each goon. This makes Zhuo think Li Yi has grown stronger from working in the mines. Then Li Yi challenges that worthless piece, who is grinding his teeth. His girlfriend doesn't believe Li Yi's fighting skill, while Zhuo admits his strength is enough to trash ordinary humans, but insists he could never stand a chance against someone of his level, a level D. With that, he rushes toward him, but before he can even touch Li Yi, he is thrown away by a single slap. Zhuo is furious after getting slapped and whines like a child. He claims he will kill him and sends a red surging attack, which Li Yi easily blocks with his shadow. Zhuo is confused to see it. It feels as if Li Yi has an invincible wall. At this moment, Li Yi is ready to teach him a lesson, which makes Zhuo cower in fear. His girlfriend refuses to believe he could be defeated by a mere miner. Without wasting time, Li Yi forms a shadow morph spiderweb around them. Zhuo, trembling, realizes that Li Yi must be at least a C or B rank. But our boy casually tells him he is just an E rank miner, which this scum refuses to believe. When Li Yi is about to hit him, Zhuo hurriedly blurts out that he is a member of the Black Panther gang, warning that harming him will bring Brother Panther down on his head. Our boy ponders it and confirms whether the gang is involved in loan sharking. Zhuo desperately admits it, which earns him a hard punch that sends him flying, coughing blood. Li Yi declares his hatred for all loan sharks. At that moment, Wang ambushes him with a sword, but Li Yi pushes him back with sheer force. Zhuo, terrified, decides to compromise. He offers 100,000 wen to be let go. Li Yi mocks him, asking if that's all he is worth. He raises it to 500,000 and finally settles at 1 million if he is released. But our boy has another idea. Since Zhuo is so fond of charging high interest, he decides to give him multiple slaps as interest. Desperate, Zhuo pulls out his credit card and offers 5 million, everything he has. By the look of the NG Group VIP card, he immediately understands that Zhuo is one of the people who force money out of people like him. So he decides to keep Zhuo alive for a while in order to lure in the bigger fish. He lets Zhuo go while declaring that the Black Panther gang has already taken millions from him, so accepting this money is only his right. Subing is concerned about Zhuo, but he is more focused on the humiliation of her words, that she told him Li Yi was just a minor. She voices her confusion at how Li Yi has become this powerful. Enraged, Zhuo vents his humiliation by slapping her hard. In his mind, revenge on Li Yi becomes certain, since his money is not something anyone can just take away. He calls his superior, Brother Panther, bending the truth by claiming that Li Yi not only stole the sword he was planning to offer Panther, but also swore to eliminate the Black Panther gang. He then asks Zhuo to send all the information they have about Li Yi. At that moment, one of his subordinates asks about their plan regarding the people, since they have already retrieved the items they came for. He, cold-blooded, casually kills every single person there, exclaiming that now, there are no people. Finally, he assigns the responsibility of handling Li Yi's, whether alive or dead, to his second-in-command. Our boy, looking for work, heads to the Advanced Ones Guild to get a job. As soon as he reveals that he is an E rank seeking a task, every adventurer around him starts mocking him for being the lowest class, since usually the guild doesn't bother offering jobs to E class. The receptionist politely tells him he needs to wait at the entrance right beside the trash pile. If any party needs someone like him, they will come there to find him. This, of course, sparks another round of laughter and mocking comments from the others, comparing him to the trash pile he is told to wait by. Ignoring the mockery, he stays focused on getting a task, since the 5 million he won still went straight to the loan he needs to repay. Suddenly, the entire guild hall grows heavy with the intense pressure of a high-level aura. It's coming from an advanced one, a B-rank girl. Whispers ripple through the crowd, questioning why someone like her is even here. Activating his shadow eye, Li Yi notices something the others can't. She carries no killing intent, and her look mostly shows the delicate air of a rich young lady. Her companion announces that they are heading to the Beast Abyss for a D-rank task, and require a D-rank miner for the purpose. The moment the words leave his mouth, the pressure of her aura makes everyone step back in fear. Everyone except our boy, who remains totally unfazed. He quickly realizes he's the only one left standing. The girl herself takes note of how unaffected he is by her B-rank aura. The receptionist, trying to please her, hurriedly offers to show her a list of available D-rank advanced ones. But she shakes her head and points to Li Yi instead. The receptionist stammers, protesting that he hasn't even registered yet, and it would be against protocol. But the girl simply declares that she makes the rules and chooses Li Yi herself, walking out with them in tow. The baffled receptionist is left speechless, having never witnessed her personally select anyone before. Inside the dungeon following Qin, Li Yi meets her team. It's a well-balanced group. An advanced one with the Bard class uses his flute to lure monsters, while other frontline fighters deal swift damage. This coordination gives the warriors clear openings, allowing them to cut down the minotaurs efficiently. Qin leads confidently from the front as a B rank. From the outside, it looks like everything is running smoothly. But Li Yi's sharp senses catch something off because there are more minotaurs lurking, making this task far more dangerous than a simple D rank level. He wonders why the others can't see them. Shadow explains that it is because of his shadow eye, which boosts his sensory perception far beyond ordinary humans. Li Yi considers Qin. Being a B rank, she must have sensed the same presence, yet he guesses she is deliberately hiding it. At that moment, Qin's companion reminds her that the starlight crystal lies beneath them. Qin then asks Li Yi to come with her. Feeling the eerie aura radiating from her, he assumes she does not care about the life of a miner, or even her own teammates. She only relies on her power to deal with whatever threat waits below. The next moment, both of them leap down and land before a D-rank Minotaur brute. She steps forward, drawing her sword, and Li Yi braces himself to watch how a B-rank fights such a beast. But then, to his shock, she retreats behind him and orders him to handle it instead. He turns to her, reminding her that he is just a minor, but she pleads again, pushing him forward. He repeats firmly that she is the B-rank while he is only an E-rank miner. He does not want to fight as he is only receiving a miner's salary, and risking his life for that is meaningless. Then she promises to pay 1 million, and he agrees to do it for the money. He activates his shadow aura and forges a blade in his hand. The next moment, he is standing before several D-rank minotaurs. He blocks one of their attacks while two others rush toward Chin, but he is determined to protect her for the money. To his surprise, she immediately activates her power, which blasts the monsters back. When one minotaur leaps down to strike her from above, Li Yi swings his greatsword and drives it back. He asks whether the monster hates her face, which makes her cry as she declares that the beasts are his responsibility. Li Yi slashes through the minotaurs with expert precision, giving Chin a brief sigh of relief as she thinks she is finally safe. But she is wrong. Another minotaur charges at her from behind. She questions its unafraid behavior, but Li Yi is puzzled by her. She clearly has the power to fight these creatures, yet she trembles in fear of them. The minotaur's strike lands on her bracelet, releasing a powerful red shield that repels the beast. However, the bracelet shatters in the process. Seeing it, Li Yi immediately recognizes it as a protective charm and concludes that she must be a non-combat type advanced one, which she confirms. She then begs him to keep this secret. He agrees, on the condition that she pays him extra. Still, he voices his curiosity about why the minotaurs are targeting her alone. To find the answer, he activates his shadow eye and notices a figure a little distance away, someone controlling the minotaurs with a flute. He could not sense the presence before because of the enemy's suppressed aura. Chin asks for help, and he strikes another creature, but it becomes an endless cycle as more appear after each one is defeated. His area effect skills are out of the question because of Chin's proximity. He begins to worry that he will be exhausted to death at this rate. Then he pauses, thinks clearly, and realizes that his true enemy is after Chin. He decides to use her as bait while forging shadow chains beneath his feet. He warns Chin to stay alert in case of an ambush, especially since her protective charm is broken and she cannot fight. Meanwhile, he binds the minotaur's feet with shadow chains. Chia worries why he has revealed so much of her secret loudly, not realizing she is the bait. The enemy falls for the trap and appears behind her, certain she is defenseless. He raises his sword, telling her to blame her father for her end. Before the strike lands, Li Yi saves her. He then reveals that the culprit behind the minotaurs is controlling them with infrasound waves through his flute. Xin is shocked to see Ludan, her teammate, standing there. Ludan grins, mocking how he was fooled by a mere minor, but declares it is not the end. He activates his power, drawing energy from all the minotaurs around him. The air thickens with his aura as he prepares to reveal his true strength. Watching closely, Li Yi concludes that Ludan must be C rank, while Chin quickly understands his strategy to boost his power. The next moment, lava surges at their feet, and he realizes that Ludan is evolving into a C-rank lava minotaur. Nervously, he thinks how Ludan's cheat-like power makes her far inferior than his new enemy. Soon, the fully evolved C-rank lava minotaur stands before them and immediately attacks. With no choice, Li Yi forms a shadow shield around them, but the destructive force of the beast is too overwhelming, shattering the shield instantly. He understands that the two of them are no match against such a monster. Kuya notices the burn marks on his body, but he replies nothing. With no alternative, he grabs her hand and pulls her to run with him. To hold the minotaur back, he binds it with shadow ropes, though he knows he cannot restrain it for long. Once they reach a safer distance, he urges her to get as far away from the dungeon as possible. Concern flickers in her, but he tells her he must stay behind to buy her time. She still hesitates, but he consoles her, assuring her he will return. After all, he still needs to collect his 1 million. Finally, she heads toward the entrance. At that moment, Ludan, now in minotaur form, searches for them. He calls out, demanding Chin's location. Furious, he turns to Li Yi. Our boy dodges the attack while provoking him to keep guessing. He strikes Ludan's shin, only to realize with shock that there isn't a scratch. His body feels like solid rock. Ludan answers mockingly, saying a blade cannot cut him as he truly has become stone, all while trying to deliver a devastating blow. Li Yi's mind races, concluding that defeating him surrounded by lava is nearly impossible. He immediately runs, luring Ludan away, aiming to draw him into open ground. Ludan keeps taunting him for running away, but Li Yi stays focused on finding his weak spot. Activating his C-rank shadow eye, he scans Ludan carefully. The monstrous figure swings again, determined to kill him first before going after Chin. That reckless aggression gives Li Yi the opening to finally detect the weak point. He darts behind Ludan, but Ludan proves sharp enough to anticipate his move. Streams of lava surge, covering the vulnerable spot. With a cruel laugh, Ludan challenges him, boasting that he knows exactly what Li Yi is thinking, before blasting him away with molten force. Exhausted, Li Yi feels the crushing weight of a true C-rank's power. Ludan rushes in, intent on finishing him. Li Yi steadies his blade, waiting for the right chance. Ludan mocks him for not fleeing like before, certain this fight is hopeless. But Li Yi keeps pressing forward with relentless strikes, though each slash feels useless against the creature's rocky body. Ludan slams his attacks into him, yet that moment of arrogance opens a narrow chance. Li Yi leaps into the air, aiming straight at the weak spot. Heat erupts violently, which is an overwhelming wave blazing from the protected point. His shadow energy falters against the searing 2000 degrees C, forcing him back. He lands hard, admitting inwardly the sharpness of his opponent. Lu Dan acknowledges that Li Yi has found the weakness, but he taunts him further, saying it's unreachable under that inferno. Then, with a cruel tone, he demands Qin's location. Li Yi answers coldly, making it clear he will never trust someone who betrayed his own master for money and fame. At those words, Lu Dan becomes livid, charging at him in fury. His opponent attacks relentlessly while our boy dodges every strike, his body moving on sheer instinct. Seizing an opening, he morphs his shadow into a chain blade and hurls it toward Lu Dan. The enemy instantly recognizes the shift. Li Yi is not just defending anymore, he's going on the offensive. Without hesitation, Li Yi shifts the chain into a rope dart, whipping it straight toward Lu Dan's weak spot. But the searing heat melts his shadow mid-air, drawing mocking from Lu Dan. The monster lunges forward again, telling him to give up. Li Yi grits his teeth, realizing that he's consuming far too much shadow energy. His reserves are burning away, and with them, his chances of survival. For a fleeting moment, he considers calling upon Entropic for help. The thought chills him. He refuses, as he would rather face death on his own terms than surrender his body to that entity. Mustering every shred of will, he leaps into the air once more, his eyes locked on the weak spot. The oppressive heat threatens to crush him, the flames of the lava barrier searing against his skin, yet he refuses to stop. The promise of victory, the experience points waiting beyond this fight, drives him forward. Then he pierces through, driving his shadow-forged spear into Lu Dan's weak spot. The C-rank erupts in pain, his roar echoing through the dungeon. But just as his health plummets to zero, Lu Dan's berserker mode activates. His body flares with violent energy, his stats surging higher. He hurls Li Yi back with monstrous force. Li Yi crashes to the ground, stunned and confused at the sudden turn of events. Lu Dan's burning eyes lock on him, fury blazing as he curses the miner for daring to wound him. And then, Li Yi feels it, the suffocating heat radiating from his enemy, growing hotter, stronger, deadlier. Lu Dan deadpans that this is his end. The next moment, our boy is petrified as he senses a far greater energy rising from his own body. The answer comes from Entropic, who informs him that this energy has always resided within him, but now it is tempered by the high heat from his stunt to take down Lu Dan. This forges a new form of shadow energy. He notices that this awakened shadow enhancement ability grants him healing power, though only at a beginner level for now. Lu Dan also notices, not only that our boy is healing himself, but also the sinister aura radiating from him. He immediately attacks Li Yi without giving him a chance to recover. Li Yi dodges at high speed. Lu Dan is shocked to see him moving fast enough to keep up with his threefold speed, making him doubt whether this boy is truly just an E-rank. Furious, he floods the area with lava to prevent him from escaping. Determined to burn him into ashes, Lu Dan presses his attack, but Li Yi keeps standing there unfazed, unaware that the shadow enhancement has formed a protective layer around him, shielding him from the heat. He is satisfied with the beginner-level ability he has awakened, though he wonders what kind of miracles an advanced version of this skill might bring. Then, with calm defiance, he taunts Lu Dan that his heat is too low. Lu Dan is shocked at the sight. Drawing his blade, our boy declares that it's his turn to end it. With a roar, his enemy also rushes toward him, but this time Li Yi has the upper hand. His shadow enhancement skill increases his overall stats to 200%. Now his blade can pierce and slice through the rock body of his enemy, who is furious after losing his arm. He charges at Li Yi again, but this time our boy is ready, holding blades in both hands. He can't believe that his shadow enhancement ability gives him enough power to deal even ranged damage. He sends another slash toward Lu Dan, damaging his body. But the lava gives Lu Dan an advantage, allowing him to regenerate his lost limbs again. Hearing him brag about infinite regeneration, Li Yi points out that his energy is decreasing. Raising his weapon, Lu Dan challenges him to keep attacking. Complying with the taunt, Li Yi cuts his limbs again and again, each time letting him regenerate. But at the last moment, Lu Dan senses something is wrong with regeneration. Li Yi tells him to surrender, as he is already at his limit. Facing death, Lu Dan tries to reason with him, saying there is no bad blood between them and he doesn't need to kill him. Li Yi agrees but adds that he was assigned a task to protect Qin for 1 million. Hearing this, Lu Dan decides to lure him with a 5 million offer once they return to the city. Our boy pretends to take the bait, knowing it is a chance for Lu Dan to come with backup and try to kill him. Lu Dan insists he is not a backstabber, but Li Yi reminds him that he is one, and should be handed to Qin Shaosheng, Qin's father, for targeting his daughter. Not to mention, Li Yi will be greatly rewarded not only for saving her, but also for delivering this culprit to him. Listening to this, Lu Dan decides to take death over captivity, knowing it would also endanger his family. He declares that Li Yi shouldn't blame him for what is going to happen next, as he raises a shard in his hand. Entropic recognizes the shard from the gate of the otherworld, and immediately informs Li Yi that if Lu Dan destroys it, the abyss will lose its entrance to the outside world, and everyone inside will be trapped forever. Lu Dan accuses him of leaving no choice but to act. With a swift motion, Li Yi seizes the shard from his hand and, in the next moment, furiously attacks him to kill him. Ludan falls to the ground, leaving an energy core in his wake. With this core, Li Yi upgrades his Shadow Eye, which is now elevated to the ultimate Shadow Eye. The ground suddenly trembles. Entropic informs him that the abyss is collapsing without the support of the Minotaur's energy. Everyone rushes safely to the exit and breathes in relief after escaping. Qin offers him a place in her father's faction, assuring him that his skills will be highly appreciated. Li Yi clearly states that he is not interested in joining any faction. He also requests her to keep his power secret. She agrees, handing him his reward of 1 million. Deciding to make more money, he offers his sword at Longman 3rd Street. She inspects it, and notes that while it doesn't carry any special energy attribute, the material is of high quality. She agrees to take it for appraisal and promises to give him a suitable price for it. He happily hands her the sword and bids her goodbye, already planning to sell his future items to her as well, judging by her knowledge regarding weapons. Still, he harbors a small doubt that she might be like Zhuo, but for now, he is content with the 1 million he has earned. Later, at home, he takes out the shard he stole from Ludan and asks Entropic whether it is truly important. Entropic assures him that gathering enough shards will help him reach S rank. Looking at the shard, Li Yi ponders over the offer. Unbeknownst to him, Entropic is already thinking about the reappearance of the Gate of the Otherworld, which means their enemies might still be active. He knows that Li Yi is the key because one day they will have to fight creatures that cannot be comprehended by the human mind. Entropic considers telling him now but rejects the idea, deciding it is more important for Li Yi to first become strong enough. Later, our boy goes to the E-rank rift zone, which falls under the NG group. This rift is currently sealed due to a mining accident. He notices the guards, 1 B rank and 3 C ranks, standing in front of the rift. He doesn't believe NG would hire such advanced guards just to watch over an E-rank rift. With his current power, he knows fighting these guards is out of his league. Entropic grows curious about the situation, wondering why such heavy protection exists around a low-level rift. Li Yi reveals that this place hides the truth about his parents' death. He recalls the time he went to the NG group seeking answers. Instead of the truth, they only offered him more money as compensation. He didn't touch it because what he wanted was the truth. The manager even tried to manhandle him, declaring that his parents had died in an accident in the field. But Li Yi reminded them that his parents were C-rank evolvers. They couldn't just die in an ordinary accident. He demanded they let him go inside to check, insisting they might still be alive. NG Group reminds him that the Rift Zone is unpredictable and dangerous, even for C-ranks. He protests again, arguing that even if there are monsters, they can't be stronger than E-rank. One of the goons is about to punch him, accusing him of just wanting more money, when the chairman of NG Group, Ning Donghao, arrives and stops the violence. The chairman offers Li Yi 200,000 as compensation, saying it will help him. But Li Yi refuses the money. He only wants the truth. At that time, the chairman promises to investigate the matter, and Li Yi believes him. What he doesn't know is that soon he'll be trapped in labor work as repayment for his parents' debt. Entropic comments that this is the same everywhere. Without strength, all creatures can do is submit. He tells Li Yi to gather more shards instead of wasting time, luring him with the idea that once he's strong enough, the truth will be his. Multiple thoughts swirl in Li Yi's mind. His status as an E rank, which doesn't give him the advantage to form a party, and his doubt about Entropic's intentions. His shadow promises to make him S rank, but Li Yi doesn't believe it much. Entropic snaps at him to shut up, saying he sees his potential. That's the only reason he bothers to train him. Li Yi casually reminds him that he didn't say anything, not realizing Entropic can read his thoughts. Irritated, he calls him a menace. At that moment, a mission invite appears before him. After seeing the mission invite, he heads to the chemical sector, which is a D-rank rift zone. The manager complains about his late arrival, and he excuses himself by saying he was far away. The next moment, he notices a familiar face, Uncle Hao, who immediately recognizes him and is pleased to see him after 5 years. Meanwhile, the other C-rank evolved fighters are not happy, grumbling about having to wait for a miner. The manager explains that the mission involves mining, something they don't want the advanced ones doing. One of the fighters, impatient, asks for a briefing about the mission. The client has tasked them with entering the rift and extracting 60 kilograms of cold crystal. Seeing the situation, our boy calculates that hiring 3 C-rank advanced fighters just for a D-rank rift is suspicious. Not to mention, none of them seem particularly friendly. He also senses another C-rank presence near the gate, likely Hazy, a mercenary. Meanwhile, Blood Panther is looking at his phone, his eyes glinting with bloodlust as he imagines hunting every single one of them, including our boy. After a while, they step inside the rift. Uncle Hao asks about his protective suit, and he replies that he doesn't need one since he's an advanced one. Hearing this, one of the evolved sneers, mocking him for being a king of trash, standing out only among miners. Uncle Hao warns him not to take the bait, and he assures him he won't do anything. As they go deeper, he notices something strange because the vegetation looks deliberately arranged by human hands. Not only that, he also senses a great danger lurking nearby. He also senses a powerful energy, unmistakably from Blood Panther, who can't hold back anymore. Looking around, he notices the mercenary nearby must have felt it too. He wonders whether the mercenary is hiding to observe them or if something else is going on. The arrogant fighters urge him to move faster, and he agrees. Our boy, however, plans to use the surroundings to his advantage and investigate. He tells Uncle Hao to hold him tight and moves forward at incredible speed, baffling the fighters. One of them tries to stop him, but another restrains him, warning that he will face the danger alone otherwise. Meanwhile, Blood Panther eyes the evolved fighters, thinking about how easily they could be manipulated. One fighter senses something dangerous, but their leader consoles them, claiming the mission is just D rank, easily handled. Another fighter recalls a feeling of being watched and notices the growing sinister aura. Before the leader can reason with them, Blood Panther silently appears behind one of the fighters and traps him. Both step back in shock, immediately recognizing the threat. They beg him to talk, but Blood Panther kills their comrade in cold blood, seeing them as mere nuisances in the Black Gang. Provoked, one of the remaining brothers rushes toward him, ignoring the protests of the others. His body is instantly trapped by Blood Panther's threads and is killed immediately, mocked by his merciless enemy. This crazy menace tells the remaining brother to run away, clearly enjoying the frightened look on his face. After putting distance between himself and the brothers, our guy asks Uncle Hao to rest for a bit. Uncle Hao is confused by his act of abandoning the brothers. Instead of answering, Li Yi asks whether he has offended any faction recently. Uncle Hao answers that he is just a miner and hasn't done anything like that. Li Yi reveals that this mission is orchestrated to kill all of them. Uncle Hao grows fearful listening to this, and our guy urges him to tell everything he knows. At that moment, the remaining brother interjects, accusing him of knowing everything but not telling them anything, which cost his brothers' lives. Rising from his place, Li Yi taunts the brother, saying that revealing the mastermind would only make him useful. The fighter doesn't understand, and Li Yi points at his neck, signaling that he is about to die. Blood Panther finds him interesting, as he has predicted his moves. Li Yi wastes no time and activates his ultimate Shadow Eye. Seeing the death in front of him, Uncle Hao immediately begs for their lives, insisting they are just miners. Blood Panther admits he has never crossed them, but a few days ago, in a drunken state, he let slip that he knows a secret about them. Uncle Hao promises he will never reveal it. Activating his power, Blood Panther declares that only a dead person can keep a secret, and then he attacks Uncle Hao. Our boy stands ready, power surging as he grips blades in both hands. Blood Panther spreads his threads everywhere, admitting he never expected someone like Li Yi to have skills strong enough to take down someone like Zhuo. He moves to claw him, acknowledging that Li Yi possesses the only skill capable of defeating Zhuo. Blood Panther slashes at our boy, but Li Yi has activated his shadow enhancement. He dodges effortlessly, rendering the attack useless because Blood Panther is too powerful for him to even block directly. Blood Panther lashes out again, sending Li Yi flying. Desperately, Li Yi tells Uncle Hao to stay back, realizing he needs to change tactics since close-range attacks put him at a disadvantage against his enemy. Blood Panther declares that both of them will die, which Li Yi immediately disagrees with. He activates his ultimate shadow, morphing his weapon into daggers. The daggers fly toward Blood Panther, who blocks them with a taunt. Li Yi leaps into the air, blades raised. Blood Panther grudgingly admits Li Yi's ability is high for a miner, but he insists that by breaking his sword, Li Yi is still only E rank. In the next moment, the ground cracks beneath Blood Panther's feet, and a mercenary ambushes him. Li Yi's flexible, snake-like shadow binds Blood Panther, who realizes his close combat expertise will be his downfall. Within a blink of an eye, he is killed. Seeing a C-rank killed by his enemy, he feels concerned because he is weaker than that opponent. Knowing they have no choice, he takes Uncle Hao's hand, focusing on getting out of the area. Blood Panther, however, refuses to believe they can ever escape. A little farther away, he tends to Uncle Hao's wounds, planning to help him escape at night. Uncle Hao urges him to flee alone, insisting he is just a liability at this point. Then he asks about Blood Panther's reason for hunting him, as it must be tied to some secret. Uncle Hao quietly admits that he knows the truth behind his parents' deaths, which unknowingly triggers his shadow energy. Desperate to know the full truth, he presses Uncle Hao. Uncle Hao begins to explain that he wasn't sure at first, but Blood Panther coming after him confirms his suspicions that something is wrong with Qishi Hao. His father had also revealed before his death that this man must have been conducting dangerous experiments in the mining area. The accident occurred a few days later, resulting in his parents' deaths, and Qishi Hao accused them of stealing ore. He is furious that no one told him sooner. Uncle Hao admits he couldn't risk losing his job as he had a family to support. Li Yi accuses him of letting the truth slip by, and Uncle Hao confesses that his guilt's pressure forced him to drink and reveal the truth, which ultimately led to the disaster. Next moment, Blood Panther appears again with his deadly threads, trapping Uncle Hao and terrifying Li Yi. Before dying, Uncle Hao asks Li Yi for forgiveness. Blood Panther, recognizing Li Yi from his parents, declares he will send him to join them in the afterlife. A clash erupts between the two opponents. Blood Panther, eager to shed Li Yi's blood, lashes out, but Li Yi reminds him that his spider silk is not invincible. He draws his greatsword with his Shadow Morph ability, waiting for the perfect moment. When Blood Panther attacks recklessly, Li Yi snaps the threads, catching him off guard. Blood Panther realizes his mistake. Exhausted, Li Yi wonders if he has reached his limit. Blood Panther admits that for a moment he was genuinely scared. Without his E-rank abilities, he would have been defeated. He traps Li Yi with his spider silk again and challenges him to kill him. When Li Yi glares, Blood Panther mocks him, saying he is killing him with his eyes. Seeing the determination in Li Yi's gaze excites Blood Panther, and he decides to provoke him further. He darkly reveals that Huo was right about the experiments, but his parents didn't die in an accident, but at his own hand. Li Yi's face freezes in shock. Blood Panther casually adds that Li Yi's father had the same look when he shredded his mother into pieces, laughing at the memory with psychotic glee. Li Yi burns with rage, his power surging. In an instant, the spider silk threads around his body burn away. He merges with his shadow, rising from his place, fully resolved to kill Blood Panther. Entropic observes the situation and realizes his prediction proves correct that our dude can channel hatred to fuel the shadow energy coursing through his veins. The system immediately informs him that his shadow energy activation creates a massive surge, and it detects his internal shadow energy before beginning corrections. The level adjustment completes successfully, elevating him to C rank with shadow enhancement. With that, a new skill awakens within him, Shadow Jaunt, which allows his body to slip into any shadow and emerge from any other connected shadow. His opponent notices that his injuries have completely disappeared and wonders whether he possesses healing abilities. Blood Panther explains with satisfaction that prey becomes most interesting when it struggles on the brink of death, then unleashes his energy toward him. Li Yi responds by questioning who the real prey is among the shadows before appearing behind Blood Panther using his new ability. This sudden movement shocks his enemy, who cannot comprehend how his strength has increased so dramatically in such a short time. Blood Panther acknowledges being impressed by his speed, but immediately turns around, declaring that such speed remains insufficient to kill him. From above, Li Yi activates Shadow Morph, Flying Dagger Swarm, and launches the attack downward while suggesting his opponent try handling this technique. His enemy responds confidently that dodging such moves poses no challenge for someone of his caliber. He then activates Shadow Jaunt, Lightning Thunderstorm, which allows him to teleport using Shadow Jaunt on a thrown weapon. He questions whether Blood Panther can handle this new approach as he closes the distance for a direct attack. Blood Panther repeats his earlier dismissal, claiming that these weak daggers cannot even penetrate his defense. Our boy retreats and clarifies that breaking through the defense was never his intention. He explains that he cannot maintain both offense and defense simultaneously, because the speed at which he controls his blood threads cannot match his reaction speed. This weakness will prove fatal. Blood Panther shouts in disbelief as Li Yi attacks him from multiple directions with incredible speed. He finds this development impossible to accept as he bleeds and collapses to his knees, struggling to understand how he could lose to someone so young. Our boy stands tall before his defeated opponent and demands the truth about the mining accident that occurred years ago. With a dagger positioned above Blood Panther's head, the wounded man begins to reveal information about his mother, but his patience runs thin before he can finish. A swift slash of Li Yi's sword severs Blood Panther's arm, sending it flying while the man screams in agony. He warns that his patience has limits and demands answers. Blood Panther reveals that Kui Shihao planned everything, and his father had stumbled upon Kui's secret experiments, and fearing exposure, Kui had both parents eliminated and staged the mining incident as a cover-up. This revelation widens his eyes as he processes the shocking truth. Blood Panther continues, pointing out that now he knows the NG Group's involvement and questions whether this knowledge frightens him or crushes his resolve and advises him to release him. Our guy immediately cuts him off and departs, vowing that none of the people responsible for murdering his parents will escape his revenge. Later, at the NG Group headquarters, Li Yi conceals himself and observes Kui Shihao silently as a subordinate escorts him to his car. Entropic warns Li Yi that despite advancing to C rank, he should avoid seeking death unnecessarily, as he points out that he should be able to sense the presence of an A-rank advanced fighter nearby. He acknowledges that he knows about Ningdong Hao, the NG Group chairman and A-rank advanced fighter, who also travels in the same car. He reassures his shadow that he would not act so recklessly as to attack Kui immediately. Li Yi flies above the scene while explaining that he cannot completely trust Blood Panther's words without further investigation. He needs to determine whether this matter involving his parents was Kui's personal decision, or if the entire group participated in the conspiracy. Our boy hopes Ning had better not be involved, because regardless of his A-rank status, blood debts must be paid in blood. The system displays his current status that is C rank with abilities including Shadow Knowledge Base, Shadow Morph Unlimited, Shadow Eyes, Shadow Enhancement Tier 2, and Shadow Jaunt. He follows the car while keeping himself hidden until it finally stops. He notices they have arrived at the Black Panther gang's warehouse, which makes him wonder what brings Kui here during the middle of the night. Inside the warehouse, Black Panther instructs his subordinates to handle everything carefully since all the items consist of experimental equipment. While workers move the equipment around, Kui inquires about the old miner Hai Wu's status. His associate reports that Blood Panther has gone missing, and the otherworldly gate he used for infiltration has also vanished, making it impossible to confirm whether he remains alive or dead. Kui demands an explanation for this confusion, pointing out that Blood Panther held C-rank status. His subordinate suggests that Blood Panther probably underestimated his enemy, noting that 4 C-rank advanced fighters died during this incident. Kui orders them to move the equipment quickly to prevent any complications from delays, emphasizing that the experiment has reached a critical stage where absolutely no mistakes can occur. Black Panther inquires whether the money has been prepared as requested, which he confirms. Our dude remains hidden behind a box, overhearing this entire conversation and thinking angrily that Kui Shihao truly set up everything. His rage begins to surge, but suddenly Black Panther senses something unusual and questions who might be lurking nearby. Li Yi quickly moves from his hiding spot as the box behind him catches fire. Black Panther wonders what happened while it might have been his imagination, though he clearly felt a wave of killing intent moments earlier. He conceals himself behind another pile of boxes, realizing how close he came to discovery and acknowledging that his C-rank strength still falls short of what he needs. Meanwhile, at the Qin Group enterprise belonging to Qin Shaoshang, president of Longmen 3rd Street, Li Yi stands outside the building. Shadow questions why he has come here first thing in the morning instead of searching for available missions. Li Yi explains that he needs to find the third fragment and determine the weapon's true value. A receptionist approaches him politely, offering her assistance. Li Yi informs her that he seeks Qin Xian, and she responds by asking whether he has scheduled an appointment. Behind them, a couple walks by, and the girl glances at Li Yi before approaching him with disdain. She comments that a poor miner like him cannot simply enter this place whenever he pleases, and criticizes him for speaking the eldest young Miss's name so directly. Li Yi recognizes her as Suqing. Her companion Qin remarks to her that this poor fellow stinks up the air and wonders why nobody has thrown him out yet. His arrogant attitude irritates Li Yi, who questions whether this represents the hospitality of 3rd Street. The girl retorts that hospitality applies to guests, not poor fellows like him, adding that he lacks the qualifications to serve as their servant's family dog. Li Yi considers whether all Qin family members behave this arrogantly and decides there seems no point in contacting Qin Xian anymore. He announces his intention to leave, but she blocks his path, declaring that he cannot simply depart. The man orders his guards to cripple him, and all of them rush toward Li Yi. Li Yi activates Shadow Jaunt and beats all the guards away before grabbing Qin by the throat and lifting him up. The girl becomes frightened and warns Li Yi to release the young master or face the Qin family's wrath. Li Yi throws Qin toward her, explaining that he will spare them today for Qin Xian's sake. Qin releases his fire energy while shouting angrily, demanding to know who he thinks he is. He charges at our dude from behind, vowing to kill him immediately. He glances back, preparing to counterattack, but a man interferes and commands both of them to stop. Qin Xian emerges from behind him, commenting that he possesses considerable nerve to cause trouble at the Qin Group. The young master loudly declares that Li Yi is finished for daring to cause trouble in their place, warning that his cousin will never let it slide. The girl doesn't even flinch and tells her guards to throw him out. He argues that this punishment is too light and suggests breaking Li Yi's arms and legs instead. Right then, a subordinate grabs him from behind. He yells in shock, demanding to know why she's attacking her own family. His girlfriend explains that our boy only spoke her name, and the young master picked a fight to defend her honor. She makes it clear that Li Yi is her friend, and there's nothing wrong with him calling her name. She then orders all the arrogant guards and his girlfriend to be thrown out, making sure they'll never be hired again. As they're dragged away, the girl cries out desperately, calling herself the young master's girlfriend and begging him to stand up for her since she gave him everything. Xian then turns to her cousin and warns him not to do it again. If he dares to use the family name to trick around again, she won't forgive him. He bows his head and agrees quickly. After that, she turns to our dude, surprised to see him there, and invites him to come inside. She apologizes for the trouble caused by someone from a side branch of her family. Li Yi shrugs it off, saying every family has people like that. She then leads him inside. A servant comes in, informing President Qin wants to see her. She apologizes to Li Yi and asks him to wait a bit while she handles it. Li Yi agrees and tells her to go ahead. She leaves with her subordinate, who adds that the president didn't give a reason but demanded she come right away. Suddenly, a small explosion goes off and someone steps forward asking who Li Yi is. Li Yi uses his ultimate shadow eye to check him and sees that the man is an A-rank fighter with 2 skills: Eye of Deterrence, which causes fear and restricts movement, and Furious Thunder, which boosts lightning power and enemy stats. Li Yi realizes this opponent is dangerous. He stays respectful, saying there must be a mistake since he's only a minor, but he finds the mental attack disgusting, and his shadow enhancement does nothing against it. The man looks shocked when his eye of deterrence fails to scare Li Yi. Doubting that he's just a minor, the man releases a burst of power straight at him. The blow lands, but Li Yi doesn't even flinch. The man stares in disbelief, realizing only someone at least B rank could withstand that. He demands Li Yi admit his real reason for pretending to be a minor and trying to get close to Xian. Just then, Xian shows up, grabs the man's ear, and calls him by name. She scolds him for bullying her friend and drags him away. Qin Shaosheng softens his voice, telling her to respect her father in front of guests. She snaps back that a man without dignity doesn't deserve respect and orders him to leave her friend alone. Li Yi realizes this must be Qin Shaosheng, the one in charge of Longmen 3rd Street. She turns back to our boy and apologizes, admitting that he always suspects people who approach his daughter. He answers calmly that it's normal for a father to worry about his child. Xian then invites him back inside. She notes that he seems to know her father well, and Li Yi says it's hard not to. Outside the window, Qin Shaosheng watches them, convinced the boy has an interest in his daughter. Having raised her late in life, he refuses to let anyone take her away. His thoughts slip out loud, making Xian frustrated enough to tell him to leave. Later, he sits with Xian across the table. She hands him a card with 5 million on it, explaining that the Great Sword's material was special, so the client will decide on a final price after appraisal. Li Yi says that's fine, but adds that he actually came for something else. He shows her a fragment and asks if she knows where to find more like it. She studies it and explains that these strange fragments from another dimension used to be common, but someone has been buying them all up in recent years, making them rare. She suggests he check the auction at Longmen 3rd Street, where he might find one. Our dude thanks her. Entropic whispers to him, wondering if this connects to the people they ran into before. Someone is collecting the fragments. Somewhere else, a subordinate reports to his superior about Li Yi that the 20-year-old minor was only classified as an E-rank ascendant a few days ago. No special energy could be detected in his body, so he had always been treated as ordinary. The man, President Qin, listens and thinks aloud that moving from E-rank to C-rank in such a short time is suspicious. Either he has been hiding his strength all along, or something unusual happened recently. Before he can think further, his phone rings. He answers, recognizing an old acquaintance. The caller Huo wastes no time and asks if there are still any of the great swords his daughter once sent over. The president admits he isn't sure, and wonders what the urgency is. Huo pushes him to check quickly, promising to take as many as are available. The president chuckles, pointing out that for an old fox like him to show such interest, there must be a deeper reason. Huo doesn't give details, only revealing that the sword's material might boost the overall strength of their army. That thought lingers in his mind. Li Yi's strength is puzzling, his background unclear, and even the weapons he produces seem extraordinary. Nothing about him is easy to figure out. Meanwhile, elsewhere, he himself is lost in thought. Surrounded by goods and materials, he suspects that hidden fragments might be among them. While he thinks, the same annoying couple nearby catches his attention. His greedy ex, who once worked for Qinteng, clings to Zhou again. She explains to him that she has nothing to do with Qinteng anymore, as she even quit her job at the Qin Corporation to avoid him. Zhou pulls her closer, declaring that he will take care of her from now on. She melts into his embrace, praising him for being so good to her. Zhu thanks her with a proud smile, but his eyes shift toward our minor, irritation flashing across his face. He wonders if Blood Panther still hasn't made a move. Zhou steps forward, demanding to know how a mere minor managed to sneak inside. He reminds him of their earlier encounter, when he slapped him around without effort. Releasing a wave of pressure, Zhou warns him to keep his distance. Tension rises until Brother Bao arrives. He mocks Zhou for being a disgrace to the Black Panther gang, and then turns his attention toward our boy. He declares that slapping his subordinate is the same as insulting the entire gang. With a heavy hand on his shoulder, Bao orders him to kneel and apologize, his force cracking the ground beneath. He doesn't flinch and answers that kneeling will only happen in Bao's dreams. Bao's eyes narrow with surprise, admitting he didn't expect such toughness from him. Zhou snarls in frustration, calling him a worthless minor who doesn't know his place. Just then, Xian arrives with her subordinate. She steps forward, reminding the gang that this is Dragon Gate's 3rd Street. If they are here to spend money, they are welcome, but if they come to stir trouble, she will not tolerate it. Her words make Bao reconsider. He backs away, deciding to leave the matter for now, and orders his men to head to the auction. Once things calm down, Xian asks if he is all right, and he assures her he is fine. Bao, while leaving, mutters in confusion about his background and wonders how he ended up in her circle. Zhou, still bitter, reveals that this minor is the one who stole the treasured sword that was meant for her, and even dared to boast about wiping out the Black Panther gang. Bao grabs him by the collar, demanding to know if this is true. Shu insists it is. At that moment, Kui arrives, asking what happened. Bao explains that this same boy was targeted by the Blood Panther last time, yet he is somehow still alive. He points directly at him, raising the possibility that he might have been the one who killed Blood Leopard. Zhou quickly dismisses the idea, arguing that someone ranked as an E-rank weakling couldn't possibly defeat their second-in-command. Meanwhile, our dude studies Kui carefully, while he also observes him, remembering this face resembles the weak boy one he once knew, and wonders how such a weakling could have ended up entangled with Tai Sai. Our boy asks about her reason to show up, and she explains that her father suddenly demanded to see her. She also assures him that nothing will happen while she's there. Kui notices them and admits he didn't expect to run into our boy here. He walks past, shrugging off attention, and explaining that he's only a minor forced to work the mines to pay a debt, so he could never mix with high-level people from NG Group. Kui confesses that the decision about the parents' case came from above, that he wanted to help but had no power, and his words meant nothing. Our dude listens as the man tries to wash his hands of responsibility. He also warns him that he knows the truth, thanks to revelation from Uncle Hao. Bao interferes, insisting he needs to be taught a lesson, but Kui stops him, pointing out that this sector belongs to Qin Shaoshang and that a public clash would be reckless. Still, the point remains that he crossed a line, and someone needs to handle him quietly. Bao snaps into action, promising to arrange it immediately with a dangerous smile. Meanwhile, she brings him to meet her father before the auction starts. The announcement for the evening echoes through the hall, and she tells him to talk with the elder while she watches the auction, and will signal if what he wants shows up. He thanks her and moves forward, keeping one eye on the crowd. Inside, the president brings up the weapon he commissioned last time and asks if there are any more. He offers a large sum to get everything together. Our boy thinks the president seems to want that Entropic clan weapon specifically, which explains the eagerness. He also decides to keep a little back, knowing that flaunting too many rare pieces would draw dangerous attention and ruin the price. Quietly, he mentions that he found one by chance and has 2 more in stock. Bidding begins on several lots. The auctioneer lists item numbers and starting prices, and the hall buzzes with offers. Our boy's heart lifts when a fragment appears on the platform, proof that these strange otherworld pieces are really here. He checks his funds and counts roughly 70 million, counting on that to win the lot. Initial bids climb slowly until a rival pushes the price high. Our boy throws in 30 million, aiming to test the waters, but another buyer matches that instantly. The gang leaders murmur and point, recognizing the challenger as trouble. One of them slams down a higher offer, and the room stiffens. Our boy answers with 60 million, trying to force the issue and scare off the rest. Xiao Song frowns and warns that the price is getting out of hand, telling him not to waste sudden money, and that someone is clearly pushing the value higher on purpose to crush rivals. Our boy feels annoyed at the trick and thinks about the 2 big camps who might be Qin Group and NG Group, trying to guess which side has deeper pockets. President Qin Shaoshang confirms that this is his establishment, but questions why he should provide any assistance. Meanwhile, buyer number 2 places a bid of 70 million, and Kui watches from his position. Li Yi responds by pointing at his weapons with a single finger, causing them to materialize. Qin Shaoshang agrees to purchase both items at the previous price, but warns that the small amount of money Li Yi possesses won't be enough to complete their transaction. The president receives assurance that since Li Yi dared to make this claim, he can naturally produce the corresponding quantity needed. This makes Qin wonder whether this young man possesses quite a few more weapons than initially apparent. While the 70 million bid continues, Xian grabs her father's ear and scolds him for being so stubborn over such a small amount of money. She promises to pay him back if Li Yi cannot produce what he claims, and her father reluctantly agrees to these terms. The 70 million bid approaches completion when Xian pulls Li Yi forward, urging him to hurry before that bad person snatches the item away. Li Yi thinks to himself that he truly doesn't understand the world of the super rich, where over 100 million represents just a bit of pocket change. He raises his bidding number and calls out 100 million. Buyer number 9 has now bid 100 million when Kui suddenly counters with 200 million, thinking this fragment holds great value for their group's secret project, and he must acquire it at any cost. The bids escalate rapidly: 300 million, 400 million, 500 million. The audience begins buzzing with excitement, wondering if these 2 bidders have lost their minds. People question whether this fragment really holds such tremendous value. One girl suggests that these 2 big spenders are simply butting heads, and their conflict has nothing to do with the fragment's actual worth. Bao informs Kui that our dude is clearly working against them, but Kui dismisses this concern, claiming he lacks the qualifications to pose a real threat. He then places a shocking 1 billion bid, leaving everyone in the auction house stunned. Xian declares that Kui is provoking them, while Li Yi realizes something feels wrong. Based on Kui's personality, he would absolutely never waste so much money on impulse unless something extremely important was at stake. Qin Shaoshang approaches from behind and warns Li Yi to think carefully. The bid has already reached 1 billion, and he needs to consider whether he can really produce that many weapons. Xian reminds her father that she already promised to cover whatever amount goes missing and begs him not to be such a spoilsport. She then encourages Li Yi to bid quickly and not let that villain get his way. She places a 2 billion bid, leaving everyone in complete shock. The host announces that buyer number 9 has bid 2 billion when Bao curses, wondering where this kid acquired so much money. Kui realizes it must be Qin Shaoshang's influence. Otherwise, where would Li Yi get 2 billion? The hostess calls for the third and final time, declaring the bidding over and congratulating buyer number 9 for winning the unknown fragment. Xian offers her congratulations to Li Yi, who wonders whether she needs to get so excited about the victory. She responds that she simply loves watching bad people get humiliated. Qin Shaoshang comments that they had quite an entertaining bidding war, but after deducting the previous amount, Li Yi still needs to produce over 70 more weapons worth the remaining value. He questions whether Li Yi can really generate the corresponding number of items needed. Li Yi explains that things become precious when they're rare, but when too many exist, the price naturally cannot be calculated using the previous standard. He snaps his fingers, causing hundreds of weapons to materialize around them. He points out that over 100 weapons should easily cover the 2 billion cost. Qin Shaoshang acknowledges that Li Yi is a straightforward young man, thinking that both his temperament and strength are excellent. He considers how beneficial it would be if this person could work for him. Xian reminds Li Yi to call her next time something fun like this happens. Meanwhile, Qin Shaoshang thinks it would be better if Li Yi doesn't get involved with his daughter. If he remains untamed and instead steals his precious daughter away, that would be problematic. He tells Xian to come home with him, informing him that he can go pick up his purchased item directly. Li Yi thanks the president for his assistance. Before leaving, Qin Shaoshang offers Li Yi some advice. While he possesses methods that others aren't aware of, the NG group similarly shouldn't be underestimated. It's not something our boy can handle alone, and sometimes it becomes necessary to form alliances with partners who share the same goals. If Li Yi feels interested in such cooperation, he can contact him later. At that moment, Bao receives a phone call and confirms he understands the situation. He informs Kui that the president and his daughter have already departed, and the person collecting the fragment will be our dude. He begins suggesting a plan, but Kui interrupts, declaring they will make their move after Li Yi leaves Longmen 3rd Street to avoid the area's sphere of influence. He emphasizes they cannot afford any more mistakes. Bao reassures him that this time he's bringing Zhou and 3 C-rank experts, guaranteeing the operation won't fall. Walking back home, our boy realizes something important. Qin Shaoshang has clearly been gathering information about him. That final comment during their conversation was obviously meant to pull him into an alliance. He doesn't mind working together though, since he won't be tied down by any formal agreement. Entropic floats beside him, mentioning how President currently holds A-rank status. He explains that with enough fragments, reaching S-rank becomes quite achievable. Li Yi gives him a doubtful look, which makes Entropic defensive about his claim. Li Yi responds that he believes his so, but needs to find a good location for the trial. Deep down he thinks differently. S-rank hunters aren't common at all. Only 9 exist worldwide. Becoming one requires exceptional effort and talent. He keeps these thoughts to himself to avoid annoying Entropic. At that moment, a loud crackling sound catches his attention. Turning around, our boy discovers his apartment building engulfed in flames. People rush out screaming and running for safety. His phone buzzes immediately. The caller informs him about receiving a tip regarding the Black Panther gang planning an attack. He glances at the burning building and mentions that the attack has already begun. The person suggests hiding while backup arrives, but he declines the offer confidently. Joe appears with several gang members, demanding that our dude kneel and beg for mercy. He threatens to spare Li Yi's worthless life only if he complies. Instead of cowering, he releases his powerful aura, causing the air around them to vibrate. He mocks Joe for sending such a small group to face him. Zhu boasts about having 3 genuine C-rank fighters while dismissing Li Yi as merely an E-rank minor. This makes him smirk as he questions why Blood Panther failed to eliminate him if he's truly so weak. One subordinate wonders if Li Yi might be hiding his real strength, but Zhou brushes off the concern. He insists that Li Yi remains just an ordinary miner without any combat experience. Believing this assessment, one gang member charges forward recklessly. The attacker swings his weapon confidently, expecting an easy victory against someone with no fighting ability. However, he vanishes from his original position just as the strike comes down. The weapon hits empty ground instead, leaving everyone stunned. Li Yi reappears behind the confused attacker and slashes with his sword. He casually confirms Zhou's assessment about being a miner, but his actions tell a different story. The gang members freeze in shock, unable to understand how or when Li Yi moved. Fear creeps into Zhou's voice as he orders his remaining men to attack together. He cuts down both attackers swiftly before grabbing Zhou by the throat. He questions why a tough gangster like Zhou seems terrified of a simple miner. Zhou struggles desperately, begging to be released while Li Yi tightens his grip. Since Zhou enjoys playing with fire so much, Li Yi decides to give him exactly what he wants. He hurls the gang leader into the burning apartment building. As Zhou crashes through the flames, he screams threats about President Kui and Brother Panther seeking revenge. The fire quickly spreads across his clothes while he shrieks in pain. Li Yi calmly promises to send those two down to join Zhou very soon. Xian rushes over to check if he got hurt during the fight. He brushes off her concern, explaining that dealing with such lackeys required minimal effort. She asks about his next plans, and he confirms that he intends to strike back since they made the first move. Cian offers her assistance, which surprises Lee Yi. When he questions her motivation, she explains her long-standing annoyance with the Black Panther gang. Their attack on her friend crossed a line, especially since Li Yi represents one of her few close friendships. Her cheeks turn slightly red while making this confession. Li Yi accepts her friendship and partnership readily. Together, they decide to target the Black Panther gang first before moving on to bigger threats. Cian leads him toward a house, explaining that the place remains empty most of the time and he can choose any room he wants. He immediately points to one room, but she quickly stops him from entering that particular space. The room turns out to be filled with feminine accessories and decorations, creating quite a mess. He comments on how girly everything looks, though he admits the space feels surprisingly peaceful. She mentions how strange it seems for someone like him to find such things appealing, especially considering her status as the Chin Corporation heiress. He responds that having such items appears completely normal for any girl. His next comment catches her off guard. He tells her she appears much more attractive when she drops her usual cold and distant attitude. The word cute echoes in her mind because nobody has ever described her that way before. Cian attempts to approach him from behind, but he casually grabs her arm while continuing to chuckle. When she mentions she is hungry, while using some kind of ability, he produces various ingredients from thin air and tells her these emergency supplies will have to suffice for now. Her curiosity piques as she wonders where these items came from, remembering how he had similarly produced a weapon during the auction. He simply states that he knows magic, which prompts her to eagerly request lessons. However, he suggests she should return home first, though she questions what could be wrong. Meanwhile, outside the house, her father is looking at them angrily. He wonders what kind of spell this young man has cast on his precious daughter, considering how quickly their relationship has developed. The fact that his daughter now stays in a place where even he cannot enter disturbs him greatly. He notices how she has never chatted so happily with him lately, and the thought of a man and woman alone together at night creates an uncomfortable atmosphere in his mind. Our boy senses the father's growing anger and warns her that her dad might actually harm him if she doesn't return home soon. Later that evening, back at the house, he explains that the location sits within Dragon Gate 3rd Street territory, ensuring their safety from unwanted visitors. He produces 3 fragments, one from a lava minotaur, another from a blood panther, and a third from an auction. As he prepares to begin something important, he admits his curiosity about the connection between these fragments and the dimensional portals that appear seemingly from nowhere. Entropic provides clarification, explaining that the 3 fragments represent only small pieces of the gate of the alternate prison. All dimensional portals in their world connect to fragments of this gate. As they enter the portal together, our boy asks about the true nature of alternate dimensions. Upon reaching the other side, Entropic explains that these creatures serve as prisoners, clarifying that what people call an alternate dimension actually functions as a massive interdimensional prison. The concept of imprisonment confuses our boy, prompting him to ask for more details. Entropic promises that completing the trials ahead will naturally reveal the answers he seeks. A massive tower looms before them, which Entropic proudly introduces as the Sky-Reaching Tower, both its greatest masterpiece and the young man's trial ground. Our boy studies the structure's strange appearance, noting how Entropic's twisted face matches the tower's unsettling aesthetic. Large tubes covering the building appear to be made from the same material as certain weapons, making him wonder if Xiaoshang might be interested in purchasing such items. Entropic struggles to contain its frustration, thinking about how its soul might scatter if anger overwhelms it, leaving nobody to care about its fate. When asked about the trial's requirements, it explains that the Sky-Reaching Tower contains 6 floors total. Given his current strength level, even defeating the Shadow Wyvern on the first floor would prove impressive. Our boy spots the creature and questions whether this small dragon-like being truly represents the fearsome Shadow Wyvern. To him, it resembles more of a gecko than a mighty dragon. He reaches out casually toward the tiny creature, commenting that attacking something so small feels like bullying the weak. Entropic encourages him to continue laughing, warning that his amusement won't last much longer. Our boy calls the creature a little cutie while staring directly into its eyes. Suddenly, a powerful explosion occurs, startling him completely. The tiny creature suddenly grows to massive proportions right before their eyes. The system displays its information, a C-rank Shadow Wyvern with shadow enhancement abilities that boost its size, speed, and strength by 600%. Li Yi realizes this enhancement triples his own shadow capabilities, though he notes his version seems like a cheap imitation. Entropic explains that his constitution falls short compared to its pet's natural abilities. When the dragon approaches our boy, he refuses to accept this supposed inferiority. He leaps upward, pointing out that larger bodies create more blind spots for opponents to exploit. Racing toward the creature, he positions himself directly in front of it and discovers the shadow enhancement creates incredibly strong defensive capabilities. Entropic questions whether he's holding back his true power, suggesting his weak attacks merely tickle the beast rather than cause damage. Li Yi activates his own shadow enhancement technique, but Entropic warns that failing to tame this creature means he cannot advance past the first floor. Despite launching countless strikes against the wyvern, his attacks leave it completely unharmed. Entropic observes that his shadow enhancement usage shows impressive refinement and decides to increase the difficulty level. It informs the dragon that it must be hungry and suggests Li Yi might make a tasty meal. The dragon opens its massive jaws and moves toward him menacingly. Li Yi barely comprehends what's happening but quickly dodges away from the snapping teeth. He questions whether the pet has received proper vaccinations, noting how rabid it appears. Entropic explains that his vigorous movements have likely made him appear as appetizing prey to replenish the creature's energy. Frustrated by the unfair tactics, Li Yi complains that fights should involve combat skills rather than attempts to devour opponents. Since the creature seems so hungry, he decides to try a different approach and produces several chicken drumsticks from his storage. He announces his ultimate technique while tossing the food toward the confused dragon. The beast instinctively catches one drumstick in its mouth, giving him the opening he needs. He channels his energy into the food, and the dragon swallows it completely. The system confirms successful taming of the Shadow Wyvern and unlocks access rights for the first floor. Entropic mutters about the glutton's predictable weakness for food, as the dragon shrinks back to its normal size after consuming the drumstick. Another system notification appears, stating that binding and activation authority for the gate of the alternate prison has been obtained. The confused young man wonders what these new authorities actually do for him. Entropic explains that after being infused with energy, each fragment transforms into a portal connected to the alternate prison. This means binding a fragment from the alternate dimension allows him to open portals whenever he chooses. Excited by acquiring such useful abilities on just the first floor, he speculates that the rewards from the remaining 5 floors must be even more valuable. Entropic grows annoyed by his cocky attitude after clearing the first floor through trickery rather than strength. Deciding to humble him, Entropic transports them to the second floor, where the guards serve merely as stewards and servants of the sky-reaching tower. Li Yi senses something suspicious about this explanation and worries about encountering another transforming creature. A portal carries them upward while Li Yi notes that the first floor's pet is already ranked as sea level, meaning the second floor definitely won't be simple. Entropic challenges him to look first before making decisions, and they arrive before a massive gate. Claiming the area poses no real danger, Entropic watches as Li Yi opens the gate. However, multiple powerful creatures await them inside: a Thunder Serpent King at C rank, a Hydro Turtle at C rank, and a Lava Minotaur at C rank. Li Yi comments sarcastically upon seeing this collection of supposedly harmless servants. The massive creatures prepare to launch their assault as Li Yi realizes the entrance has sealed itself behind them. The serpent lunges toward him with deadly intent, opening its enormous jaws while declaring its mission to eliminate the intruder. He quickly activates Shadow Jaunt followed by Shadow Enhancement, using the incredible speed boost to dash past all the monsters in a single fluid motion. He reaches a door at the far end and slams it shut with tremendous force, breathing heavily as he confronts Entropic about its deception. Entropic insists it never lied about the creatures being servants, though it admits Li Yi's abilities remain rather weak for handling them effectively. When he demands to know what purpose a molten lava minotaur could possibly serve, Entropic calmly explains that it provides heating for the facility. Our boy continues his questioning about the Thunder King snake, learning that it generates electricity for power needs. The Hydro Turtle apparently handles floor cleaning duties, while the underworld creatures manage various chores and heavy lifting tasks around the tower. The system suddenly alerts them to an approaching A-rank lifeform, identifying the arrivals as Cian and her father. Li Yi wonders why they would visit at such an inconvenient time, though circumstances force them all into a meeting room for discussion. Xiao Song mentions hearing about Li Yi's intention to confront the Black Panther gang directly. Li Yi confirms this plan, explaining that since Blood Panther has already begun targeting him, taking offensive action proves more effective than remaining defensive. Xiao Sang points out that the Black Panther gang has provoked Dragon Gate 3rd Street repeatedly, yet he has refrained from retaliation for specific strategic reasons. He questions whether Li Yi understands the delicate balance that prevents him from acting immediately. Our dude correctly identifies fear of disrupting the current power structure as the main concern. Xiao Sang confirms this assessment, explaining that Haicheng operates under a three-way balance between major powers. Wu Tianqiu controls the city's political machinery as city lord, while Ningdong Hao's NG group dominates the economic sector. Xiao Sang himself possesses significant influence in both political and economic spheres, though ranking second to the other two in their respective domains. Despite despising the Black Panther gang's years of merchant bullying and forced seizures, he cannot move against them directly without risking severe consequences. Two dangerous possibilities prevent his direct involvement. First, attacking the Black Panther gang might force Ning and Wu Tianqiu into an alliance against him. Second, both Ning and Xiao Sang could suffer heavy losses during the conflict, allowing Wu Tianqiu to seize complete control over Haicheng. Li Yi wonders whether this means President Xiaosang refuses to involve the Qin family in the conflict. However, Xiaosang responds with a knowing smile, proposing that Li Yi and Xian form a new faction specifically to handle the Black Panther gang situation. Realizing the implications, Li Yi recognizes this as an attempt to start a proxy war using them as agents. Xiaosang praises his quick understanding and outlines the arrangement. He will provide both funding and manpower while Li Yi and Xian execute the actual operations. This approach prevents the other two major powers from reacting irrationally to direct Qin family involvement. Even if the plan fails completely, Xiaosang can still mediate the situation and ensure their safety through his political connections. Li Yi expresses amazement at how quickly President Xiaosang devised such a comprehensive strategy in just one evening. Meanwhile, Xiaosang's internal thoughts reveal his frustration about the situation, wondering what kind of spell Li Yi has cast over his daughter. Her father silently laments that his daughter's insistence on dealing with the Black Panther gang alongside Li Yi has forced his hand in this matter. He mentally calculates the costs. Providing money and resources while risking his daughter running away with this young man represents a total loss from his perspective. His inner monologue even considers sending Xian away and having Li Yi tied up and dumped somewhere far from the city. Li Yi notices how obviously the president's internal thoughts show on his face, making the situation somewhat awkward. Xian intervenes to move the conversation forward, asking Li Yi about his next planned actions. He explains his intention to accept missions involving every publicly accessible dimensional gateway in Haicheng, needing to visit each location personally. Xian agrees to make the necessary arrangements for his mission assignments. Li Yi's thoughts turn darker as he contemplates how binding with these fragments will herald the beginning of the end for the Black Panther gang, marking their bad time. Xian takes Li Yi to meet her fighters. She waves at the crowd and tells him these members passed tough tests. Now they belong to the Shadow Gang and follow his orders. The leaders bow to greet them both. Xian shares that picking names took forever, so she chose Shadow Gang because of his powers. Li Yi confirms he approves of this choice. He looks at the leaders and sees they all rank as C-level fighters. Such a team holds real strength. Li Yi spots that everyone covers their faces. He asks about this choice. Xian clarifies that hidden faces keep enemies from finding their families. She adds the masks look nice too. Li Yi requests their battle plan. Xian declares they will grab work from the Black Panther gang. Every good-paying job becomes theirs now. Li Yi doubts they can finish so much work. Xian calms his worries by promising they will pick only profitable tasks since other schemes exist for remaining jobs. Meanwhile, Bao rages when his worker delivers bad news. Documents fly everywhere as he hurls them around. He yells about Shadow Gang taking their business. Bao commands swift revenge on these newcomers. His worker admits defeat against them. Bao clutches his shirt collar. The frightened man reveals Shadow Gang brings 5 to 6 elite C-level warriors every time. Black Panther Gang owns too few C-level members. Bao swears about where this crew came from. He drops the worker and commands him to purchase expedition passes. Cost matters nothing if their team enters these ventures. His worker reports that unknown buyers already claimed future expedition spots. Bao's fury peaks completely. He warns of terrible punishment if this chance for wealth disappears. The worker flees while promising victory. At that moment, Li Yi and Xian relax inside their base talking about results. Xian ends her call and updates Li Yi that Black Panther Gang spent big money for expedition entries. Li Yi predicted this because they never abandon profitable seasonal chances. Xian needs more details. Li Yi describes mining business secrets. Mine bosses and foremen steal valuable ore and rare materials all season long. They use repair schedules to move and trade these items secretly. Black Panther Gang usually takes mercenary jobs to watch and rob these dealers. Since no one reports stolen merchandise, victims remain silent. With their route now blocked, they naturally spend heavy amounts for expedition tickets to reach other worlds. Xian doubts that expensive tickets bring much money. Li Yi admits his plan goes deeper. His recent world travels had bigger reasons. Li Yi opens a gateway using his hands. He reveals he tagged every other world entrance around Haicheng. He can now create small doors to any world instantly. Their crew will track buyers of costly expedition passes and spot Black Panther Gang members. Attack time comes after that. Xian praises this brilliant strategy. Li Yi demands secrecy about his world-jumping abilities. Only loyal people can join this mission. Xian offers to participate because she enjoys brave adventures. Li Yi grins and accepts her help for their joint strike. Somewhere, a vehicle rolls into the empty space carrying 2 workers inside. One worker mentions to old Wang that this delivery holds great value. Wang promises everyone gets their share of profits. Sharp stones suddenly emerge ahead of them. Wang expresses gratitude on everyone's behalf but then warns everyone to stay alert. More stone spikes burst from the ground like blades as they pass through the area. The driver exits and checks on the cargo's safety. A Black Panther member appears and confirms the shipment remains undamaged. However, he warns them about incoming trouble and launches stone daggers at the group. Everyone scatters while he shouts for them to stop running since his entertainment just began. Lee Yi arrives at the scene and offers to be his opponent instead. He activates shadow movement and launches an attack. The enemy complains about interference ruining his enjoyment. Lee Yi charges forward while stating that robbery creates one problem. The man thinks quickly about using his stone abilities, but Lee Yi strikes his face with tremendous force, smashing him into the rocky surface. The defeated fighter asks about Lee Yi's identity. He warns that making hostile moves will anger his nearby allies who won't show mercy. Lee Yi responds by asking if he means those D-rank fighters who already fell to the Shadow team members. This revelation makes the enemy shout in disbelief. Xian appears and asks about handling these captured enemies, and if they should eliminate everyone completely. Lee Yi refuses this approach since killing them gives the Black Panther gang an easy excuse. He proposes a superior strategy instead. The man questions this alternative plan. Lee Yi instructs him to return and inform the Black Panther gang that Lee Yi and the Shadow gang planned everything. Bao lies in his hospital bed when reports reach him about the Shadow gang's involvement in recent attacks. He demands to know how Lee Yi became so powerful so quickly. His assistant explains the complicated situation. Their men appear uninjured on the outside, but medical scans reveal severe internal bone damage throughout their bodies. Even with top medical care, recovery takes 6 months minimum. Treatment costs reach $5 million per person, totaling $30 million for 6 injured members. Another message arrives reporting that their remaining 2 teams also met defeat. Bao grabs his subordinate's shirt in rage and demands details about the attacker. Learning it was Lee Yi again, he grinds his teeth in disbelief. The 3 alternate dimensions exist hundreds of kilometers apart, making simultaneous attacks seemingly impossible even with flight abilities. His subordinate shows him video evidence proving Lee Yi's responsibility. The footage shows Lee Yi defeating their forces single-handedly. In the recording, Lee Yi notices the secret filming and approaches the camera. He warns the recorder to step back and mocks the Black Panther underling's weakness. Lee Yi challenges their leader to face him directly instead of sending weak subordinates. He mentions the expensive medical costs for treating so many injured fighters for extended periods. This final insult pushes Bao beyond his breaking point. He destroys the tablet in fury and swears to eliminate Lee Yi completely. Later, Lee Yi brings them to a storage building. Xian wonders why he chose this location. Lee Yi explains he followed Quishihao earlier and found the Black Panther gang's storage facility next door by accident. Their constant interference with enemy operations over recent days forces Bao to handle missions personally now. Xian realizes our guy plans to attack their storage while Bao stays away on other business. His phone buzzes with an update. His contact reports that Bao and his crew already departed for alternate dimension number 3. Lee Yi acknowledges this information and instructs continued surveillance. Our dude informs her that Bao leads this mission personally to prevent further failures. He plans to impersonate Bao to create confusion and buy them extra time for the raid. Xian worries about facing a B-rank opponent and suggests Duan Ao should accompany him for safety. Lee Yi refuses this suggestion since he avoids direct combat. Bringing additional people creates unnecessary complications. She protests this decision, but Lee Yi opens a shadow portal to demonstrate his escape method. He reassures her that danger poses no real threat since the gateway allows instant retreat to safety. Xian reluctantly agrees but warns him to stay cautious. Meanwhile, Bao's crew celebrates their successful mining operation in the alternate dimension. They praise the quality of materials they gathered during this expedition. One member compliments Bao's leadership, noting how he and his supporters avoided confronting them directly this time. Bao dismisses Lee Yi as merely a minor threat with limited resources and capabilities. Suddenly, Bao senses an intruder's presence nearby. He demands the hidden person reveal themselves immediately. Lee Yi emerges while restraining one of Bao's subordinates. He compliments Bao's impressive sensory abilities for a B-rank fighter. This recognition shocks Bao completely. Lee Yi maintains his casual demeanor, claiming to be just a simple miner with modest ambitions. The captured subordinate begs Bao for rescue. Lee Yi warns against sudden movements since accidents might result in permanent injuries to the hostage. Bao releases fire energy toward Lee Yi, declaring they can perish together. Lee Yi positions the hostage as a shield, forcing Bao to burn his own team member. Lee Yi vanishes using shadow movement while commenting on the casualty. Lee Yi reappears in a different location and mocks Bao's willingness to sacrifice his own people for victory. Bao curses Lee Yi as a coward and launches more fire attacks, but another subordinate gets caught in the flames instead. Lee Yi materializes behind Bao and observes that working for him carries extreme occupational hazards. Bao responds with rage, stating that eliminating Lee Yi justifies losing several subordinates in the process. Bao creates a massive fire tornado that forces everyone to flee for survival. The spinning flames burn several team members while Lee Yi uses shadow movement to hide behind rocky cover. Bao shouts for Lee Yi to stop hiding like an insect. He recognizes he cannot underestimate a B-rank opponent's power and decides retreat offers the wisest strategy. Before leaving, Li Yi wonders what expression Bao will display upon returning to discover their raided warehouse. He disappears through his shadow portal while Bao continues searching angrily. Back at the warehouse, remaining Black Panther members face Li Yi's assault team. Bao arrives demanding explanations for the disaster that occurred in his absence. His subordinate reports that Shadow Gang members attacked alongside the Qin family elder's youngest daughter. The enemy brought 2 B-rank fighters and numerous C-rank warriors against their skeleton crew. Another member confirms they stood no chance against such overwhelming force. Bao approaches them with murderous intent, stating their excuses cannot spare them from punishment. He burns one subordinate alive while realizing Xian's involvement explains Li Yi's extensive support network. This discovery makes Bao promise ruthless retaliation against both enemies. Numerous creatures surround Kui while he threatens Bao with immediate death if he continues pursuing reckless actions. Bao shows clear fear at this warning. Kui advises against destroying their major scheme over minor financial losses. Once their experiment succeeds, he promises to eliminate the Qin family first. Bao reluctantly accepts this arrangement while cursing internally. The setback frustrates Bao since the stolen money belonged to him personally. Years of criminal leadership never brought such humiliation before. He grinds his teeth wondering if he can handle Xian without Kui's assistance. During their return journey, Xian compliments Li Yi's intelligence to Duan Ao. She orders their driver to increase speed. Duan Ao teases that the young miss clearly misses Li Yi, causing her embarrassment. Xian denies missing anyone special. Duan Ao counters that she mentioned Li Yi 24 times since waking up today. She protests these numbers while explaining Li Yi ranks among her few close friends. Next moment, a speeding vehicle suddenly rams into their car, shattering the side mirror. Duan Ao shields Xian as the massive truck crashes completely into their vehicle. Strange liquid splashes from the attacking truck's cargo area. A bodyguard calls out checking on Xian's condition. Duan Ao holds her protectively while confirming her safety. Their damaged car begins burning from the impact. Bao emerges from the attacking vehicle greeting her after their long separation. Duan Ao commands everyone to protect Xian as subordinates form a defensive barrier around her. Xian challenges Bao's arrogance for attacking her with such limited forces. She suddenly feels dizzy and questions what affects her body. Duan Ao notices something wrong with the spilled liquid. Bao explains he never attacks without ensuring complete victory. The substance covering them contains phantom spider venom that renders even skilled fighters unconscious for 10 hours upon contact. All subordinates collapse to the ground from the poison's effects. Duan Ao orders Xian to flee while he confronts Bao directly. Bao grabs Duan Ao by the throat, praising his loyalty while noting that devoted bodyguards rarely survive their masters. Fire engulfs Duan Ao as Xian screams his name in anguish. Meanwhile, Li Yi moves through forest terrain using shadow movement to travel rapidly. He destroys obstacles blocking his path into tiny fragments. Entropic comments that Li Yi's technique mastery shows impressive development. Li Yi mentions reaching C-rank status now and requests Shadow use a different name for him. Shadow dismisses C-rank strength as merely basic improvement with slightly enhanced abilities. Li Yi receives an urgent phone call from Xian. Entropic questions whether C-rank power truly provides significant advantages when Li Yi's weapon falls from his shocked hands. The phone displays video footage showing Bao gripping Xian by her hair while addressing the camera directly. This image triggers intense rage in Li Yi as he demands to know what Bao thinks he accomplishes. Bao grips Xian's hair while explaining his demands depend on his feelings toward her. He offers 2 options: deliver 1 billion in ransom money to secure her freedom, or watch her bear torture until she dies. Xian pleads with him to ignore these impossible terms. He responds immediately that he will provide the billion and asks about the exchange location. Bao demands the money within 1 hour at his storage facility. He must arrive completely alone since involving the Qin family guarantees Xian's death. Entropic advises against this suicide mission given Li Yi's current power level. After ending the call, he tells his shadow he cannot abandon a friend. Besides, the outcome remains uncertain regarding who dies today. Later, Li Yi arrives at the storage building where Bao sits comfortably with his gang. Bao acknowledges his courage while demanding the requested payment. Li Yi insists on seeing Xian first before any transaction. Bao orders his men to present the hostage. Li Yi observes Xian suspended in air with ropes, her mouth covered to prevent speech. Li Yi immediately opens his dimensional storage to display the cash. A subordinate confirms the money's authenticity. Our boy requests Xian's release now that payment has arrived. Bao admits he lied about honoring their agreement since possessing the money changes everything. Bao questions whether Li Yi naively believed he could survive this encounter. Our dude reveals that he expected this betrayal and activates explosion hidden within the money pile. Bright light flashes followed by explosive flames creating thick smoke throughout the area. Bao wonders if Li Yi escaped during the chaos, but Li Yi materializes directly behind him instead. Bao generates fire attacks while mocking Li Yi's simple tricks. Li Yi responds that Bao's teacher should have warned against using flames when dust fills the air completely. A massive explosion rocks the building, shocking Bao with its intensity. Li Yi cuts Xian's restraints and catches her as she falls unconscious. When she opens her eyes, she finds herself riding the wyvern alongside him. Bao spots the flying dragon and notices a portal entrance to alternate dimensions opening nearby. As both Li Yi and Si Yin disappear through the gateway, Bao realizes this opponent possesses numerous hidden abilities. Bao vows to claim all of Li Yi's techniques once he captures him. His subordinate reports that over half their crew suffered injuries from the explosion. Bao commands every able fighter to pursue the escapees immediately. The remaining gang members rush toward the portal before it closes completely. Enemy forces chase after them, screaming to prevent their escape. Xian worries about the Black Panther crew breaking into their sanctuary. He calms her fears, explaining this invasion creates the perfect opportunity to solve a persistent issue using their enemies. He instructs both Xian and Fei Long to hide while he handles the incoming threat. After they fly away to safety, he descends to face the pursuers alone. Entropic questions whether Li Yi deliberately left the portal entrance accessible to exploit these intruders for clearing the second trial level. Li Yi confirms this strategy, noting that the rules never required completing challenges without assistance. His companion acknowledges his clever interpretation of the requirements. He explains the second level's reward proves too valuable to ignore. Armor capable of defending against A-rank attacks offers tremendous advantages. He lands in a clearing surrounded by swirling flames. He observes that Black Panther members show impressive determination in their pursuit. When they arrive, Bao declares Li Yi has nowhere left to flee. Our dude questions why he would need to escape since Xian's rescue succeeded completely. Now represents the ideal time to eliminate Bao permanently. Bao laughs at this declaration, calling Li Yi insane for challenging their entire group alone. Bao orders his crew to overwhelm this single opponent before searching for the girl. He promises his men can enjoy themselves with her after victory. This threat triggers Li Yi's anger as he acknowledges their numerical superiority. However, our dude points out that quantity doesn't guarantee victory in all circumstances. He calls forth reinforcements from the monsters he left behind as he opens the door behind him, and the glowing eyes emerge from darkness throughout the area. All creatures he encountered previously materialize ready for combat. Li Yi welcomes the Black Panther gang as companions for this upcoming challenge. The sudden appearance of numerous monsters creates panic among Bao's forces. Beasts charge forward, launching their assault while gang members scream warnings to each other. A creature lunges at Bao, who creates protective fire barriers attempting to halt the attack. Li Yi decides to unleash his ultimate technique, activating Shadow Transformation into Great Hammer form. He declares his intention to ensure Bao receives maximum damage from this encounter. Li Yi commands his weapon to detonate with explosive force. The blast's intensity surprises him as he realizes Bao's B-rank power cannot be underestimated even when countered effectively. As battle continues, Bao taunts him about blocking single attacks while questioning his endurance against sustained assault in his current condition. Our dude responds that deflecting one strike provides sufficient advantage. He suggests Bao examine his surroundings more carefully. Looking around, Bao discovers creatures have completely encircled his position, leaving no escape routes available. Before Bao can understand anything, our dude escapes from there while wishing him good luck with the beasts. Burning with the anger of being tricked, Bao incinerates the beast furiously to ashes, but more beasts come after he defeats one. Seeing them, he swears to crush our boy. Meanwhile, our dude is at the second layer core zone with his shadow. Coming out from the portal, he asks Entropic whether he is sure they will find armor in this realm that can withstand a rank attack. Entropic assures him that he will get this armor as a reward for clearing the second layer. While moving ahead, he sees a corpse, and his companion explains that this is the steward of the second layer, Ji Ming, and asks him to give Ji Ming a proper burial after they deal with the Black Panther issue. He agrees to it. Entropic thanks him and encourages him to continue forward to find the armor. After a while, he finally spots the shadow armor, which looks quite decent contrary to his expectations. Meanwhile, Entropic thinks that Li Yi is only at the second level of shadow enhancement instead of the third. But then his thoughts wander. Even if Li Yi were at the third level, he doesn't believe Li Yi would be able to give up the armor with this ability. Li Yi turns to his companion and asks for his thoughts. Entropic brushes off his question and encourages him to take his reward. Our boy mutters about how sentimental he has become nowadays and moves ahead. Before he can even touch the armor, it grabs his neck while addressing Entropic, saying it is unexpected to see its master after such a long time. In reality, there is a soul inside the armor, with shadow reinforcement at stage 2. Li Yi doesn't understand what is happening when his shadow calls this soul Ming. Ming is furious at Entropic for becoming a parasite to someone like our boy, a mere C rank, when he once possessed mighty power in his life. Finally, Entropic orders Ming to stop, but the furious Ming refuses to follow. He explains that he has been slumbering in this armor, waiting for Entropic to return and extend his life. However, he is disappointed to see only a broken part of Entropic's soul inside our boy, so he decides to refine him. This, Ming claims, will not only upgrade his shadow reinforcement, but also make the armor his vessel to hold his soul. At that moment, our boy addresses Entropic. The next moment, he calls his shadow and asks if, by giving him full control of his body, he will be able to stop Ming. Entropic asks whether he is not afraid of losing his body to him, but our boy has already figured out that he has enough power to hold his body, otherwise Entropic would never give it back in the first place. Having no choice, Entropic becomes one with our dude, who now burns with energy. Ming reminds Entropic that he can't stand a chance against him because his remnant soul only has A-rank power. Entropic assures Ming that his A-rank skill is enough to defeat him, but that in his parasite state he can't fully utilize it. In the next moment, he uses second-level shadow domain around them. Ming grins at his master, but confidently claims that Entropic is only using second-stage power. He taunts his master, asking he was withstand this skill from Ming when he was teaching him. The next moment, Entropic grins as he morphs the Infinity Sword array with his shadow, taunting his former student that he is holding far more than that. At that moment, many shadow weapons turn toward Ming, who dodges them nonchalantly. Ready to attack our boy, he exclaims that Entropic can't use third-level skills with Li Yi's body. Entropic then uses Shadow Jaunt to dodge Ming's attack, leaving him startled by this unknown skill. Now Entropic is relentlessly attacking his former student with a Shadow Sword, but Ming stays smug, claiming that he can't maintain second stage for long anyway. Entropic asks our boy if he can withstand the fight, and he assures him with a wince that he can. Ming reminds Entropic that he can't defeat his armor with these kinds of attacks. Left with no choice, Entropic punches hard, aiming to force Ming's soul out of the armor. The ground trembles, but Ming withstands the attack. In the next moment, however, Ming's sword breaks, and he takes a punch from Entropic, who encourages Li Yi to hold on a little longer. Li Yi answers with determination. Entropic, on the other hand, grows concerned that Li Yi's body and soul could suffer severe damage from this overload of energy. Seeing his hesitation, Ming grins, mocking his master for becoming so pathetic, hesitating to defeat him just to protect Li Yi. Entropic regrets his pause, and in the next moment, he is punched hard by his former student. Ming is quite satisfied that he can finally defeat and absorb his master. The said master can't believe that he is betrayed by his own student. He finally leaves Li Yi's body and returns to Ming, who burns with triumph at the thought of finally coming back to life with Entropic's essence. Li Yi is worried about his companion, but Entropic tells him to run. Determined, our boy rushes to his enemy and asks Ming to let Entropic go, but Ming scoffs at this sentiment. He explains that Entropic is too afraid to burn our boy's soul, which is why he never dares to use his full power. On the other hand, Li Yi is nothing in terms of strength, yet he still attacks Ming for Entropic's sake. Ming throws him away, making him cough blood. Entropic urges him to leave, insisting he is nothing but a C rank. Li Yi reminds him how he once treated him like a slave and forced him to fight in order to level up. But now, rushing toward the enemy, he declares that this time, he is the one making the choice. He tries to attack Ming while revealing that he defeated the Blood Panther by forcibly absorbing the surrounding shadow energy. He is determined to do the same with Ming. Ming doesn't believe him, but Entropic grows concerned that this reckless stunt could make his body explode. Li Yi, however, doesn't care as he continues gathering shadow energy, even as he notices his body starting to break. Ming scoffs at his sentiment, calling it noble but suicidal. Entropic addresses our boy, but Ming silences him, demanding he quietly become nourishment for his life. Entropic is absorbed inside Ming, who laughs triumphantly, but in the next moment, he notices massive shadows surrounding him. He realizes it is the Eternal Night skill, which must be activated through the shadow domain. He can't believe it as he doubts whether it's even possible. He wonders if this is Entropic's doing, that he didn't fully absorb. The next moment, our boy appears behind his enemy with his shadow energy activated, reminding him of his declaration to eliminate him.